What is up, everyone? And welcome to tonight's Skeptic and Ranting. We are talking tonight what is best for society.
Did y'all see the flying
Islam
burqa that ran over
versus atheism. And we are having a modern day debate inspired after party. So won't you join us as we, James W. and myself, Amy Newman, put Muhammad in the hot seat. Woohoo! Had to do a lovely browser reboot. All right. That's right. Won't you join us for a modern day debate inspired episode on this episode of Skeptic and Ranting? What's best for Islam? What's best for Islam? Oh my. What's best? What is best for society, Islam or atheism? And we are Skeptic and Ranting. Woohoo! Thank you, everyone out there. Sorry about that. I tried to get rid of all my Pornhub tabs at once, and apparently that was too much for Chrome and decided to crash. And tried to play it cool until it just wouldn't anymore. But yes, thank you so very much out there, everyone. Welcome on the intertubes. If you enjoy the show, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, and then you gain access to that bell icon, which when set to all, well, we'll send you reminders to see our premieres or join our live streams like this one. Like, what is up, Skyworks? Woo! Anton, the Trusted Ape, Tim, Big Screen Bird, Aaron, and now all I have is Aaron in the back of my head. Send in love, I Draw Stuff, and Megan, and Woolly Ignorant, and Kevin, and Pat. What's up, Pat? Send in love. Cadden, Puckett, welcome aboard. Heat Shield, everybody out there. If I missed your name, keep on saying hi, and we'll keep on saying hi to you. However, we are, what's up, Regos, a skeptic channel, admittedly, the two schmucks between us. However, we're actually looking for views that disagree than our own. So if you are looking to defend Islam, well, we are looking for it tonight because it is an open house, an open mic. We're going early tonight, even though it's a Skeptic and Ranting. Woohoo! What's up, Soldier of Science? What is up, everybody? And I will say, James and I are a little bit biased in this, but James said what I was thinking, in which I thought Daniel kind of get his butt handed, in that I just thought that he had to retreat to... They always say that the liberals do the race card, and yet, funny enough, that is all I heard tonight. The only argument against why we should believe Islam is because apparently the Western countries are racist. However, even though we have racists in this country, he seemed to ignore that the United States is not just a blanket white country. It is a hosh-posh, mixing. And he just kind of washed over that. He also, as Aaron was saying, that he was kind of blaming, in my opinion, a lot of conservative policy on the liberalism. But once again, it should have been a theocracy debate. It should have been Islam versus atheism, which really ends up being secularism. But once again, if you are a Muslim out there, please, by all means, we're about to open up the open mic. Woo-hoo. What is up, Kalisa? Yeah, that was the other thing that, like, I don't want to point. It's not that it's like every group, insert whatever, can have bad qualities. James got taken by Satan, who we try to worship 24 Satan. 50% softer than Satan. But yes, there's like an Arabic nationalism that is all the rage within Islam. And once again, there is, for every Arabic nationalist, you're going to find your feminist Muslim who is burning her hijab. Okay, cool. But like, it is kind of weird to like try and promote. He was both saying that liberalism is attacking freedom and that the only way to have true freedom is through these theocracies. What's up, Uncle Beck? What is up, everyone out there on the Twitchosphere? I should send love out to Twitch. Let me get that. You're going to hear the clickety-clack. And in fact, I'm about to send the chat our StreamYard link if you would like to join us. But if you would like to also join our Twitch, you prefer that, we are at Amy Newman Skeptic on there. What is up, James? Yeah, I mean, I guess, do you have any quick comments before we just do verbal shout-outs and get people queued up? And if not, I have plenty of notes that we will talk about.
I mean, like I say, I think, did you guys see the brook that ran over that Muslim? Because, yeah, that got ugly at certain points. Yeah.
And he got very passionate, but passionate doesn't mean that you're right. It was just he very much drilled once again on, and let me say that there are many racists out there. Unfortunately, I know it triggers the racist when you say the R word. However, this just seemed inappropriate for this debate, and he kept on going. And even Aaron was like, "This is the 6th time. I don't know what to tell you. If you want freedom, you're going to find it here. If you want theocracy, well, whatever he's saying." But that's right, Salala.
Well, I mean, he was so triggered by the idea that people, want to find their own path to happiness, that people want to pursue their goals and their dreams, and people want to, do the kind of things that they enjoy doing. He's very triggered by that. He's like, no, you can't do any of that. You need to spend your entire life on your knees praying to Allah. And the fact
it only has to be 5 times a day, not the whole time, just 5 times.
And I mean, the idea that we don't find that a worthwhile use of time, that you could be doing anything, and it would be more productive to just sit there and watch the grass grow than to waste your life talking to your imaginary sky daddy. But he's like, hey, if I'm going to waste my life doing it, you guys have to do the same thing because, hey.
I also to me, the linchpin of the debate was when he was so excited to tell people that thought crime couldn't exist because we couldn't read your mind. It's only when you say it out loud. Yeah, you're right. The technology doesn't exist to do that, but do you want it to? And it seems like you are excited to then just, James, you can, of course, think that Islam is the wrong religion and that Muhammad is not the last prophet. Just don't say it out loud. Is that so much to ask?
And that's the thing. He kept saying that freedom of thought was the same as freedom of speech, but then he points out the opposite. Like, no. You can think the Quran is bullshit. You can think Muhammad was an idiot, not a prophet. You can think all that shit, but you better not say it. You better fucking not say it, or otherwise, the religious police will be by with clubs to give you some re-education.
Can you feel the freedom?
Exactly. And no, every culture does have certain limitations on speech, but I mean, those have to be very narrowly tailored to, only those things that would be a direct incitement to violence or that, would be harmful.
Well, the one we always use is, and really it's just a rule of don't being an asshole. Don't shout fire in the movie theater when there's no fire because you are disrupting everything. But like he was trying to say that by saying Muhammad is not the last prophet, and if you're in a Muslim society, then you are destroying the fabric of the society. Well, it has the underpinning that the society, that the government, the culture should be Muslim.
Well, I mean, find something else to base your society around. Base it on something that's actually real that people can see and acknowledge, not some imaginary thing that people just have to pretend is there. And if we all just pretend at the same time, then maybe it will be real.
He also was like, he was getting desperate. Like, you could tell, in my opinion, that the atheists, the secularists, the rationalists are winning, because he was like, look, I will take any theocracy. I don't care if it's Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Hindu. Just give me a theocracy, please. It's like, dude, how badly do you need, like, to be told to marry someone? You don't need, like, a hierarchical, patriarchal government to tell you to be faithful to your wife, right? Like, that should be a little bit easier than going to the Handmaid's Tale. I don't know.
And I mean, these guys had complete control of marriage, and it went to shit on their watch. So it was theirs to fuck up, and they fucked it up. Sorry, it is what it is.
Oh, exactly. Well, they try and blame us. I guess I have to bring it up. Normally it's them, but I will say the LGBTQ. James, he did bring it up at least once or twice in there. They start to use code words at this point, but it's like, that's the moral degeneracy. James, the reason that marriage is failing as a whole, and really that is a loaded question to begin with, it's because gays, they can marry now.
I mean, you've got girls going around wearing boy clothes. I mean, what happens when you do that? Society will probably come to a collapse, right? I mean,
basically, I'm pretty sure.
But
what I think surprises them, and we'll only riff a little bit longer. We always say we're going to go early, and then we can't help ourselves. But what I think that they need to hear, because I don't think they hear it enough, it's a strength of Western society that we are pluralistic and have slowly but surely given minorities, women, and LGBTQ people rights. Isn't it amazing? It's something to actually be proud of. They want to use that word. What are you going to be proud of? I have a lot to be proud of. I stand on the shoulders of giants, both gay and straight. Kinky.
Well, I mean, religion is inherently a very useful tool for authoritarians, because with religion, that's why you remember the person who used to come on our channel advocating for theocracy, not because it was real, but because it gives the authoritarians immense power, because you don't even have to justify what you're saying. It's in the fucking Bible or Quran or the Bible or whatever. You can't even argue with it.
Indeed. Well, this person doesn't even believe in God, or at least we could not get them to admit so, but they wanted to push the Quran because, and it is so weird to me, all of their values, like they act like it is the only way to have tradition is through religion. And I get it. It's a fantastic way to make a musical on Broadway. If you want to have a fiddle and play it on a roof. But I think there's other ways to have tradition. In fact, you just have your family, your tribe. By the way, families are both blood and non-blood, the people who deserve to be there. I'm very fortunate that a lot of my blood family deserves to be called family. Honored.
Well, I mean, you know, they're big on like family and family values, but the thing is, the family has to be exactly the way that their holy text describes it. And if your family is different than that, then fuck you. Your family doesn't count. You're a degenerate. I mean,
exactly. No, yeah, you're now the out group. Might as well be tossed aside. And that was another thing. Yes, it was like this weird victimization. Well, two things. This weird victimization. They can't be Muslim because their interpretation, very specific interpretations of Sharia law get pushed back. And these are the culture in the West. They are actually allowed to have whatever religious system you want. But in Islam, under Sharia law, well, there are 3 different types of people, okay? And they like to sell it as the first 2 because the first 2 has been the majority of people so far. And so the first group, of course, are Muslims, the true best of the best in Islam. And so you're going to have, they are first tier, but of course you're going to have other people. You have what they call people of the book. And who are people of the book? Well, the other Abrahamic faiths before them, not after, or to the side. So no Mormonism, no whatever that comes after. But Jews, Christians, you get to be second tier, or, you know, it's almost as good as first tier, but the true degenerates, the true people they hate, are those non-believers. They hold Islam very specifically, very triggered by non-believers. This God goes out of the way throughout the Quran to be like, thou be a non-believer and they will suffer the last licks of hell. Oh my, didn't know you knew me by name.
I mean, how many? There were 2 separate. I mean, regardless of where you stand on Zionism or whatever, but there were still 2 wars that the Arabs launched against Israel, and they got destroyed in both of them. I mean, if you think Allah's there in the war room, you know, directing the troops and managing that combat, it didn't seem to work out very well for him.
Well, my joke is always the United Nations fulfilled prophecy. I don't even know why these other religions exist. Israel was fulfilled. I think we can go home now. Though I don't think any government should be religious. I think all governments should be secular. From the Sinister Porpoise for $2. As an ex-Mormon, I assure you, Mormonism isn't real. Yes. I was about to get underpants ready. I was about to get all of my extra wives or husbands lined up. But okay, funny enough, that's only, I know you know this, but that's only the fundamentalists, the breakaway, which is like exactly geek moment, but that's like the Mandalorians, the ones that can't take off their helmets. They're actually a fringe cult-like organization, and most of the Mandalorians can take off their helmets, and they just wear that armor. So yes, I'm trying to say that Mandalorians, Mormons, same thing, basically. Sending so much love, the Sinister Porpoise. And they're also interesting in that they're like the trilogy religion, which is what Islam claims to be. You got to have the rule of 3, apparently. If Mormon isn't real, why is it a successful billion-dollar empire? I know. It's such a confusing thing.
Like Scientology?
I don't understand how all these religions still survive with all of this money, all of this just outpouring of money. It is a true mystery that we'll need to get to the bottom of. However, while we're getting to the bottom of that mystery, we're just going to send out a quick shout out. And at the end of the shout out, the link goes into chat.
Yeah.
So
Meanwhile,
while
I
we're
can't
queuing
open
up people-
DVDs.
Yeah, we'll do our intros, but it'll be in there. That's right. DVD number 15. I always like, that's one of the other points that, sometimes, the victim, the other half of the victim coin, is a lot of times, every time you're targeting a religion, they're like, well, why don't you target the other one? The joke is, if you want to find out what's wrong with Christianity, you ask a Jew. If you want to ask what's wrong with Judaism, you ask a Muslim. You want to find out what's wrong with Islam, you ask a Christian. I mean,
yeah, priest, a rabbi, and imam walk into a bar, right?
Exactly. And only one of them apparently can get bacon, which is kind of funny. Like, just the middle. Jesus really quickly was like, I know that we got to separate our religion. So what if, just riff in here, bacon.
What if that didn't matter anymore? Yeah.
I know. And then Muhammad came back, and he's like, getting a little chubby.
Bacon, no. No bacon.
I need to go on a diet. No bacon, no beer. It's like, I had a rough 20s. Apparently, I need to ban everything that was fun. Yes. So we can't make fun of him or stuff like that. Oh, that's another thing. Oh, my goddess. I have to do this at least once a Islam stream. Do. Here we go. So, I have here a piece of paper. I'm just going to do here. I'm just going to draw. So, right now, it is just a stick figure. It could be anybody. It could be absolutely. No one knows who this is. However, we're just
penis be upon him?
Exactly. A little beard and a little stick, because prophets always have to have sticks for some reason. And so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. It's Muhammad. He's right up there on screen. I'm told this is blasphemy. I'm told that God cannot have this, which is kind of silly, because if this beats your God, I feel like we know who's going to win, right?
You should introduce him to Baphomet.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Oh, speaking of Baphomet. So I have accepted a debate. Now, she wouldn't come on this channel, first of all, kinky, but she feels we're going to censor her and all this stuff. So it's going to be probably an impromptu debate you, but an impromptu debate you that's planned on Discord. So look forward to that. We'll see how long that stream lasts, because I think she's going to say...
What's the topic?
TOS breaking stuff. The topic is basically like God and creation and religion. The book, she calls it, because she calls herself not religious, and she found this out because the Bible told her so, and she knows this because of God. It's like, oh, you're not religious at all. Oh.
That's like Christian. That's one of their famous talking points. Like, no, this isn't a religion. This is something different. This is the truth.
No, this is the truth.
This is not a man-made religion.
All right, Beamsy, you're going to have to get me. He's just trying. Do. Follow is so great. Nice. Testicles on his. You're right. I don't know. Once again, I feel like we're trying to get to the end of mysteries tonight. Honestly, James and I are going to be Mythbusters, apparently. Oh, you want to say yes? I will say Muhammad deserves as much attention and love as possible. He is such a good boy. Such a good boy. Trying to sell all of the souls to the lake of the damned. Yes, you are.
Oh, say hi to Muhammad.
Exactly. I feel James, myself, and Gilbert Godfrey share an apartment down there, but we are right across the street from Jesus and Muhammad, or the multiple people that make up Jesus, as James would say, and Muhammad, and as both
Penis
of us
be
would
upon
say,
him.
Moses never existed, so he can't actually be in hell. And yes, I am. I wish I could say I was humming the Mentos jingle, but no, it's the Fresh Maker, right? In my head. But yes, we're going to quickly send this out.
The winky chant from The Wizard of Oz.
The winky chant. And then we'll get atheist, theist. I'm expecting Muslim Dawaists. They're not really called apologists. They are technically apologists. But if you want to spread the good news, invite people to Islam, come one, come all. But we also just want to send love out to all of the people who have sent in super chats, like Sinister, sent in love. All of the people who have joined membership. We are continuing to expand membership with our evolving badge system that evolves just over time. And our Patreons, one of the best ways to support us at patreon.com/AVNewman, including awesome Patreons like Oz from the Atheist Network group and his debate channel as well. Go check out that. Send love to Jena and Shane the Skeptic and Biddy Buddha, everyone out there, as well as a grumpy old Cuss who, when we hear, let's just see. I'm just going to do 1 point. What made me really go out? Because there was a few things that I just had to start writing. Objective morality, gaze. Oh, he said we have no morals. Here we go. No morals at all. So when we hear we have no morals at all, doesn't matter if you're objective, subjective, situational. That's kind of a ridiculous statement. And it makes us and a grumpy old Cuss go, what are you talking about? As well as Diana Smith. Send love to Diana Smith.
Because our morality is not arbitrary. That's theirs is just arbitrary because a book says something.
They love that word. And is arbitrary really is just, it's on the whims of a mind. And they like to say it's not arbitrary because it's this eternal mind.
No, it's arbitrary because he just says so. That's it.
Yes, it's the objective arbitrary. No, it makes sense. No, trust me. Sending love to Diana Smith. Hijabs can actually be cute. That hijab in that picture, in the title, she has a little bit of style to her. If you put women in beekeeper outfits, I feel like it's more on you as the god than anyone else. I also like how they're like, oh my God, you don't understand. We have to put that on there to protect women. Protect women. Because they basically are saying, no, it's not even the men. The women will just unleash themselves on other guys if they don't cover themselves up. Yeah, I think women can handle themselves, but thanks. But sending love to also Pat Lowinger, who does what doesn't matter if you're any type flavor of creationist. Pat does what they're afraid of: research. He has a book coming out. Check it out. Sending love to Pat Lowinger, as well as Dale Pastel. We're looking for empirical evidence. The one thing we never got, once again, we got a lot of talk about race, and we should be talking about race. By the way, race doesn't exist. Racists do exist. That's not a contradiction, because just because race doesn't exist doesn't mean that racists don't. However, that has nothing to do with Islam or atheism or anything. So thank you. In fact, if you would like to join the team that's talking about those things, it's the liberals. You know, the things you were kind of bashing over and over. Picky. Sending love to Dale Pastel. Sending love to... and who we're talking about bashing is Dan, by the way. They call in modern day debate. The debate link is in the description below. Also, sending love to Dave Gar. The person I'm debating is a flat earther, and she was like, "Don't bring up flat Earth." I'm like, I'm not gonna bring it up unless you do. But the religious, like, if you ask them where they figured this out, she's like, "Well, that's what the Bible says." Also, once again, from the non-religious person. That's what the Bible says. James, did you know a book said a thing? I don't know if you knew this. Oh,
I have heard that.
$2. Sending love from Coffee Mom. Braise the Lord at 400 degrees. Add vegetables and season to taste. Ah, yes. I feel like that is exactly the temperature at which the Lord just comes
Pour
out
some
fantastic.
communion wine on it.
Exactly. Just a little bit over to have a glaze. You can share it with the whole family. God just comes out great. Feeds up to like 6 to 8. It's fantastic. But thank you so much, Coffee Mom, for all of the support, all the love. You guys and gals are what enable us to do all this fun content. And yes, I really do think you got to get it up to the right degree if you really want to bring out the flavor in your deity. But yes, sending so much love also. Just a few more names. Scott Duke reminding us that other animals, we are animals. The fact that we are related to monkeys seems to be a triggering thing, or the fact that, yeah. I also just, like, if you just look at an orangutan and you, who is another great ape, and you think that we don't look like them, that's on you. It looks like my Uncle Bobby. Damn it, Bobby. But sending love. He's in chat. We saw him on the Twitchosphere, the YouTubes. He sends us so much love. We're sending him love. He reminds us we have a Skeptic Bible study. We'll eventually have a Skeptic Quran study. But do you know who currently has a Skeptic Quran study, or who is just? I think they just put the pin on it because they're moving on.
Yeah, they just wrapped it up.
But if you want to see a completed Skeptic Quran study, go check out Aaron Ra's channel. Let's get that up on there because it's hosted by the fantastic, or I should say produced by the fantastic Peter, because it's hosted by Aaron Ra. And they have an Arabic translator on there. They do the whole deal. So go check that out. And yeah, but sending one more love to Coffee Mom for that, and then sending a new set of love for the Sinister Porpoise, who is sending a super chat reminding all of us, praise the Lord. Feeds up to 500. All right. See, if you wanted to get a whole church, a whole mosque, a whole synagogue, it's time to praise that Lord. Though I will say, there's a lovely transition. I forget who, speaking of transitions, I forget who I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, what was once a church became a mosque and will one day become a museum. I kind of like that. Just looking at Constantinople, there's a good pipeline we got going through here. But sending so much love.
There was an old gentleman's club around in this area that it closed down, and then one of the churches bought it because they wanted to convert it to a church, but nobody ended up coming, so they had to close it down.
I will say, sometimes you have a problem coming. It's just the thing that you go through.
It happens.
It happens. There's pills for that, though. But okay, thank you so very much, Sinister, sending that love right back to you. And just reminding you all that when you think of Sinister Porpoises, the Sinister Porpoise is who you should think of. But also sending love to Regos and the lovely, the amazing, and fabulous Rachel Holland. Woo! Reminding all of us that the Torah, the Gospel, reaffirming, confirming, and then the Quran just retconning it. Slavery. Not the kinky kind, the good kind, where you're on your knees and everyone finishes if a face like this. No. Just the boring kind of the cruel and horrible kind, where you just take people from the nations around you. Yeah, not exactly what we're looking for. But yes, thank you so much, Rachel. And sending so much more relevant than ever, sending love to Senator Cato, reminding us that we're looking for a secular system. It doesn't mean atheist, however, it lacks a belief in God. It just says, come as you are, if you have permission from your mistress or master. Once again, the consensual slavery. Sending love to Senator Cato so much. And James Wolfe, we saw him out there. I was talking to him earlier. He was sending us so much love. I hope you are having an amazing day or night. He sends us love at the moon, sending so much love, James Wolfe, as well as Disciple Day, woohoo! Our theist, our Christian brother and sister out there, who is reminding us that even other theists can be skeptic. And then the two last, but certainly not least, we are sending love to Ian Davenport. Boom, 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 boom.
Thanks, Ian.
Boom, boom. Thank you so much, love, Ian, reminding us that a watch is not a heart. I think it was either in tonight's debate or the other, or Matt was saying, one of the atheists was pointing out that pens are not naturally occurring. Two pens cannot bump uglies to create little pens. And that is the difference between an artificial and a naturally occurring thing.
So if you found a skateboard and a car and a truck, you would think one evolved into the other.
Exactly. Or my favorite, what is the chicken leg? That's still gonna be. I don't even know what she was quite saying.
Evolution is like throwing a turkey in a pot, a turkey in a pot of water and expecting a live turkey to come flying out.
Basically, I mean, right?
In a nutshell, yeah.
Sure, exactly. But last, but certainly not least, we are sending love to Matt Deig as he reminds us that flat earthers, young earthers, the one thing they don't have, a model for how they...
An IQ above 30?
And hey, I'm sending love. I know there's a lot of smart, I know there's a lot of smart theists out there who have high G and all this. They can put together an amazing patio. They can do whatever task we put in front of them. However, sometimes very smart people are very good at making very silly things sound reasonable. The William Lane Craigs of the world. The
you can't make flat Earth sound reasonable, though.
I forget what his first name is, but Francis, the head of the Human Genome Project, these people are very good at making things like I fell in front of 3 waterfalls sound good. However, enough bashing on just Christianity, Judaism, and general theism. We are, in fact, skeptic and ranting on what's best for society, Islam versus atheism. And I just want to send love to all of our supporters out there, all the people that send in super chats, all of our channel members, and of course, all of our Patreons, along with our subscribers and viewers like you. You are who make this channel possible. But with that, as James and I are about to do our little opening statement, however, we want to get everyone queued up for the open mic. And so the StreamYard link is going into Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. We're also, I don't know if this platform is still up anymore, but we're also live on Twitter, I think. I think they're still running that program, probably.
Twitter.com/Semen Guzzler.
Oh my!
Is that our site?
How did you know?
I thought that's what you said. You made it.
Exactly. But I'm gonna pin it up. We already got Soldier of Science backstage. I would implore at this point. I think it's pretty obvious. We've probably scared like all the Muslims away. I feel bad. Though we get friendly Muslim. We get computer on here who are just regulars. So if you are a Muslim,
no Khalil.
We're here to tell you. You can tell me that I am a degenerate. You can call me a man. Like whatever your fetish is, you can do it. and we will let you, as long as you don't break the TOS gods. Those are the only things we don't.
You can offer her fashion advice as a man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Straight I for the queer, I guess they would consider me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got this. You got this. Do you stream on Truth Social? I've never been on Truth Social. And the fact that doesn't Ye own it now, so that would just prevent me. I'm not going to support anything he does. Like, I would buy Yeezys in just the whatever they. I can't even say it without his name on it. I would buy whatever in shoes, and they're. I don't think they're attractive at all. Just as a. But send in love if you disagree with me, because I don't
think he's too worried about our opinion. he's a little insulated from us.
I think that people look at me and they just expect me to have blue hair and to want to just get rid of them off the internet, when I think at this point it should be very clear that I want the exact opposite, that we just want you to speak your truth. I think that light is the best sanitary. And so if you really think that your red pill is the strong enough, it will withstand the test of time. Now, I can't tell if you're joking or not. See, that's funny. Friendly's not. See, that's just not a real Muslim. I know you, so I think you are joking.
Not a real American.
Not a real American. Because we get some No True Scotsmen from the different theists. But, I mean, it's pinned, and we already got one person backstage. He's a skeptic and an atheist, so he's probably just going to say a bunch of sane, rational stuff. But
unless he converted Islam, did his shahada after watching the debate.
Right. He's backstage. He's like, that's right up here, right up there. Every time I join friendly, orange wave, baby, yeah. More like we just need more orange juice. Can I tell you what's convincing? You could tell that marketing works. Like, I watched the commercial for orange juice where they're like in the snow drinking orange juice. And I'm like, I want to drink orange juice. And that makes no sense because it is a completely warm crop that does not grow except for in the supernatural state of Florida year round. And so.
Florida and parts of California. That's about it.
Yeah, really warm. And so, but it works, ladies and gentlemen. Marketing. You mean sugar water added to dye? Yes. Look, that's just another marketing ploy for Tang, okay? Hashtag Tang Gang. What's up, Richard Madison? Can I just say I've been listening to people talk about your streams. I already was fascinated. I am even more fascinated by your position lately. But you've always been a mensch, always been a nice guy, and so just sending love out to another lovely theist out there, to Richard Madison. But all right, enough of us blabbing. Let's get to us blabbing.
Let's go.
I know, but this is the start of us opening the gates. All right, and I have a very short opener, and so
Brookaga come flying in.
Exactly. And all right, as we get the open mic queued up, which is pinned, we are, in fact, asking, what's best for society? Islam or atheism? Well, religion, although it was an aid in many of the institutions we have today, has become detrimental to society. We can see this as it tries to cling on to 1,000-year-old prejudices in the name of traditional family values. Whatever you say, Senator. What they mean to say is there are many families that we don't accept, which is why atheism, or a lack of belief in religion, is the best way of handling a society. We can see this not only in our secular constitution, but from the non-religious countries around the world who have the highest standards of living by most metric that humans want. Freedom, happiness, a decline in violence. Sure, if we watch 24/7 news media, it's easy to think the world is about to end. But we actually live in one of the most peaceful times in history. So when I hear what's best for society, Islam or atheism, the choice is clear. Theocracy or freedom? I think I'll take my freedom fries. And all right, we only got our co-host, the pilot, lined up, and then we got Soldier of Science. So I'm going to keep on just sending it out there. If you are Muslim, Christian, Jewish, if you just think that the theocracy that
you just want to LARP as a Muslim
was pushing, I mean, because we've had secular Quranists on there. I think they Godwin's lawed themselves to death, and so the mod community had to step in. But everyone else, please come forward. We'll let you say whatever you want. We are politically incorrect. We're the squishy side of the politically incorrect. So come one, come all, just not on our sheets. But James W., we are asking ourselves, we are skeptic and ranting, in fact, on what's best for society, Islam or atheism?
Well, yeah, like we were saying before, so I think Arnrod did very well in this debate. I think he really presented a clear-cut case for why secular society is overall better. The Muslim in this debate, like I was saying before, he just seems very triggered by the idea that people, want to pursue their own passions and their dreams and find meaning in their own life through their own way, and that there's more than one way to have a meaningful life and for people to live and let live. And that just seems very triggering to him, that people actually want to do the things that they like instead of spending their entire life on their knees talking to a deity that we have no evidence to even believe exists in the first place. And the only thing I think he really could say, well, hey, I mean, it's for societal cohesion. If everybody in a society is the same religion, then they're all going to have something in common. I mean, they're all just going to be equally diluted. And this whole thing about freedom of speech, freedom of thought, you can believe that the Quran is not true, but you can't say it. It's just authoritarianism at its worst. It's not the direction humanity is going in, and I don't think we're going back to those times in the past where people were routinely executed or punished by the government for theological crimes. We're just not going back to there, and to the countries that are still there, they are becoming fewer and fewer as time goes on. The arc is in the right direction. But yeah, the chances are you want to live in a secular country. You don't want to live in any of the theocracies out there. You would much rather live in a country like Sweden or Germany or France or the United States, Canada, versus a place like Yemen or Pakistan or Bangladesh, Iran, Iraq, these places where the state is inextricably intermingled with the religion. Now, a lot of these places they put in their name, like the Islamic Republic of Iraq or the Islamic Caliphate, whatever. I mean, if you start off like that, you are dooming yourself right from the get-go. Like Rob pointed out, the United States was one of the first nations, probably even the first, to be founded on secularism. The idea that people have the freedom to choose to worship or not to worship, or which God to worship, because that's nobody else's business but your own. Why did your beliefs matter to anybody else? Anyway, thanks, guys.
Thank you so very much, James.
Yeah.
And all right, we are about to go into
Let's
the
do it.
open mic. We got a whole bunch backstage. We got Soldier of Science, Wilberforce, Stephanie, and Demolished Doctrine. What is up? And or Richard Madison. And yeah, that's the order. And we're getting everybody in. The only thing I would ask is try and make your statements pithy. If you go a little bit longer, it's okay. But just knowing that we're eventually all going into open conversation. And so you may actually want to ask your panel members something. And so with that, we are Skeptic and Ranting on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. And we are going into the open mic. Woo! What is up, Soldier of Science? Welcome on board. We are Skeptic and Ranting on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. And what are your thoughts? Debate, topic, anything we talk about?
Well, thanks, guys. It's been a long time since I've been on your show and even seen your show. So you guys are doing stuff a little bit earlier. I'm on the East Coast where James lives now. And so it's pretty awesome to be able to finally see you guys again. I thought Aaron obviously destroyed the debate. And for me, I think my most triggering moment was when there was a question. I don't remember who the guy defending Islam was, what his name was, but there was a question about some Hindu country that was really like, I don't know, they were dominating over the Muslims. And his response was like, yeah, that's still better than atheism, because Muslims can still pray in their home. And I really wished Aaron would have followed up by saying, well, what if those Hindus were enforcing blasphemy laws against those guys? What if Hindus were wanting to put you guys to death? Would you still agree with that? And I really thought that he was going to go there. And, because that was the argument from the Islamic guy, right? The Islamic guy was like, hey, if society is trying to protect society, and then therefore blasphemy laws are great. But when that question came up about Hindus against Muslims, he was just like, oh, yeah, it's still better than atheism because people can, pray indoors. They can still pray and believe in Islam indoors. And so for me, I was kind of like, yeah, Aaron should have followed up in that. But obviously, secularism, I think Aaron Ra proved with all the statistics about secular countries that secularism is better than Islam. And when he kind of followed up by saying, well, that's because those are secular poles, and of course secularism is going to believe that those poles are better, I wish Aaron would have said, you know what? Nobody's polling people who would prefer women in bags and prefer Islamic countries who throw gays off roofs. If that's your polling, yeah, of course those countries would prefer that. But yeah, that's not the poll. So yeah,
I'll say this, and then I'll let you finish. They always like to give a barometer. I get this both ways, but it's basically like, hey, aren't you happy we're not throwing you off a building right now? You should basically be smiling.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, like you didn't poll any of the Islamic people who prefer gays being thrown off the roofs. If you polled those guys, then the happiness of life would be better amongst Islamic states. I wanted to throw a rock at the TV when I heard that. But thank you guys again. Great seeing you, James and Amy. It's been a long time.
Thanks, Soldier.
Yep.
Thank you so very much, soldier.
Now,
Welcome
could say,
on board, Rebel.
Imagine advocating for a flat Earth. How about that?
James, we can't just straw man Theist out there and just assume that Rebel is up. What's that? Oh, no? Oh, he debates? He's actually... Oh, he is a flat... We're just kidding, Rebel. We're sending so much love to you. Welcome on board, our Theist brothers and sisters. But let's get our next panelist on. We still got Wilbur, Stephanie, and Richard Madison. We going in. Wilbur Forrest, what is up? We are skeptic and ranting on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. What are your thoughts on the debate, the topic, or anything we talk about?
I mean, as far as, atheism versus Christianity, or frankly, any religion, the fact of the matter is, like, I am not aware of much of any religions that don't start with the premise of stop thinking for yourself.
Ramen.
Give in and, or what is it? Let go and let God, right? No. Think for yourself like a human being. You have the gift of cognizant thought. Use it. Like the very concept of just saying like, well, I'm just going to hand it over to whatever authority. Like it indoctrinates you to hand over your cognition to really whatever authority seems to fit a specific mold. And no, that's not good. It's never good. It's always bad.
Thank you so very much, Wilbur Forrest. Couldn't agree more. And welcome on board the panel. And
My
all right,
pleasure.
we only have two more people left, and I'm fairly sure, I wouldn't bet my life, but I would bet money that none of them are Muslim. And so I am going to keep on sending that call out there. If you would like to join, we are looking for people who disagree with us right down there. We got two more people, but we can fill this. I always like to joke. The girl deck can be expanded. It's bigger on the inside. They brought David. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Okay, are you tuning your ears? They brought David Tennant back. Oh my lord, that's enough to make me go like that. Okay. Anyway, sending love. James is actually going to be selling timeshares with Gilbert in hell. But we are going to get our other two panelists in. Stephanie, what is up? We are skeptic and ranting on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. And what are your thoughts about the debate, the topic, or anything we've been talking about tonight?
Well, I do hope we do have a Muslim who's willing to come in and join the panel, because I think it was Daniel's had a couple of points that I thought were really, really curious. First of all, he seemed to be on about imperialism. Well, if you look at the history of Islam, what is it but a history of imperialism? The Umayyad Caliphate ruled Arabia to Andalus, to Spain, to Iberia, right? I mean, it was an imperial project. To this day, a tenet of Islam is the Dar al-Islam, the world of Islam, and the Dar al-Harb, which is the world of struggle. What is that but imperialism? And what on earth is that worldview? But you are imperfect. You need to submit. Islam itself, the word means submission. So that seems like a very, very imperial project. It's like if your worldview doesn't agree with mine, then your worldview is subject to restriction to conform to my own. And that seems like that in and of itself is a very, very imperialistic project. And atheism is the complete opposite of that. Secularism is the complete opposite of that. There is no, Daniel kept saying, well, atheists were the imperial power. Well, no, they were not. The European powers that were imperialist, colonialist, took the Christian religion. The very first settlers in North and South America, the project was to convert the heathen.
That's right.
So I don't, I think Daniel is mistaken in his view, and in fact is a would-be imperialist himself. He wants to dominate. He wants his system of beliefs to be adhered to, or at least acquiesced to, by everyone in society. And the telling point of that, I believe the previous panelist brought it up. The telling point of that is, well, I would rather live in a Hindu theocracy because it has that level of control. And even if the Hindus are going to oppress the Muslims can go into
Right.
their houses and
Right.
worship their, but that's imperialism on the Hindu side too.
Right.
It's just it was a ridiculous argument, and
that is almost basically saying I am willing to take some oppression as long as you oppress others. Freedom.
Yeah. That was my point too. I would say that imperialism.
Thank you, Stephanie. No, you're good. I'm listening. We're about to add Richard. I just want to show comments. That's why my face is on. But what do you want to say, Soldier?
No, I just wanted to say that, imperialism is obviously not, just an Islamic thing. Obviously, America itself has been an imperialistic country, and pretty much every nation from Rome to England to Spain to every nation has had some type of imperialism too, and it doesn't have as much to do with religion as it does natural resources and all of that stuff. So I wanted to add that, but yeah, I do agree with your point of him saying that we're acceptable to Hindus ruling us because that's better than atheists ruling us is pretty ridiculous.
And okay, thank you so very much, both Stephanie and Soldier, for that. But we're going to add in our last panelist, and I'm going to keep on saying it. It's pinned, but we're looking, because I know we have a bunch of Muslim interlocutors, friends that come on here. And so looking to come, though the haters can come on. We're not going to ban you or mute you. As long as you respect the TOS gods, we respect you. But with that, let's get Demolished Doctrine in here. Richard, what is up? We are Skeptic and Ranting on what's best for society.
Mr.
Islam
Madsen.
versus atheism. And what are your thoughts about the debate topic or anything we talk about tonight?
Up is the direction opposite the core of the planet. But on a serious note, I think the question is not really, some form of theism versus atheism, because the idea of the theistic stories is not something that is thought by the author to be applied here. If you're hard up enough for a Muslim, I consider myself, although not practicing in the way that there's like all these rituals you're supposed to. I don't do any of the ritual stuff, but I do affirm Quran. If you wanted to talk about that, but I understand that it's not intended for this time frame and for us as a people on the earth anyway. So it should never be any kind of a measurement for social structures at all. It's not. I don't think it's even intended to be. And of course, I believe that humanitarian efforts, and we're stumbling forward. I think we're making relatively decent progress. Too slow for my taste, but we're making progress. Should be the standard.
Woohoo! Thank you so very much, Richard. Also, Peabot says, Peebo says hi. And all right, with that, we are going to go into the panel of open discussion. I'll keep on saying it. This is the girl deck that we are working with tonight, but we are looking for Muslims. I guess technically we're looking for. We found out anyone who supports a theocracy. Who knew there was like a general theocracy position? Oh, I'll just take any theocracy will do. Just insert a religion. Okay, sure.
So I think that Aaron probably didn't press enough that Islamic countries have the worst record when it comes to human rights for women, for example. Just the fact that they've ingrained that women need a male to follow them everywhere they go. Saudi Arabia, for example, didn't even allow women to drive until just recently. They still require in many Islamic countries that they cover their full body and cover their faces. And now you see in Iran
a little bit of feedback from someone. Not sure who, but sending love to everyone.
Could be.
In Iran, you have now seen this huge backlash because of that. Iran has recently said that they're going to put to death 15,000 protesters because of other protesters who died recently. I don't think Aaron probably pressed enough on this restriction in the Islamic world.
Let me make 2 comments on that, and then I know Stephanie wanted to make a point. I agree with you in some ways, but I think that I think he did a good job. I think the reason that he was there's only so many ways that you can answer a question, and it seemed like every time that Aaron would push him on one of his theocratic positions, he would go to this type of, well, the West equal imperialism equal racism. And it's a really complicated subject because you don't want to you don't want to just feed into what I would feel is their narrative, which is, well, if race doesn't exist, then racist can't exist. Therefore, every racist behavior that I'm now doing can't actually exist.
I agree. I mean, that was super hard when he brought up like the top 10 countries and then what was his name? Daniel.
Yes.
Was like, oh, are you basically saying these are racist countries because they're majority white countries? No, that has freaking nothing to do with their race. It really has to do with industrial civilization. It has to do with industry. It has to do with capitalism.
And the important factor,
and
we can look at, we don't have to ignore it, is how systemic is racism in a country. You shouldn't just blanket say everyone is racist, because then you don't actually solve the problem. You have to say, where are different minority groups suffering? What is the history? How can we solve that? But none of that. You see how further and further away we go from, should this theocratic Islamic religion be in control of society? And it's like, no.
I mean, it is way more involved in that. I mean, obviously,
sure,
if you are a nation which is trying to dominate resources, it has nothing obviously to do with the color of your skin or your religion. It really has to do with what you are trying to do best for your country. And that's why he kind of brought in, Japan and other Asian countries and so forth. But in reality, what it comes down to is who has dominated resources, who has gotten to technology first, who has advanced that technology, and who is trying to do the best for their country, even if it is horrible for other countries.
I'd also love to see what some of his metrics are, because if your metric is divorce rate and it's illegal to get divorced, then yes, you are going to have low divorce rates. Are you going to have happy families that raise very functional children? Well, I don't know. That's a completely different thing. And I'll say this is the last thing. We should all be paying attention to Iran. Iran is going through. I've been waiting for something like this. They're probably going to suppress it, but I've been waiting for a counter revolution for a little while, and not like a right wing reactionary thing, but instead a academic, secular, feministic counter to religious theocracy. Now, there's been a bunch. What happened was a woman was wearing, she was not hijab enough because she was wearing hijab. It just either wasn't on correctly or it wasn't covering enough. And I'm pretty sure they beat her to death with the police. And so it made a revolt. And so we should all be supporting the Iranian people. It does not have to be once again, an imperialistic thing that because that's really what we're trying to counter is the people who want to control. I've
actually always said, I've said for a long time that it made no sense that the United States sided with Saudi Arabia, who are Sunni Wahhabis and very a strict version of Islam, as opposed to Iran, who is Shia. And
there's a very
Iran,
sticky substance under the ground, I just want to say, and that may have to do with where our allyship comes from. And I just want to say, hopefully that'll change. I want the princes and all that to secularize and then the whole country. And I just want to, I had a final point on just, I guess we should. And that's just really the separation is just the Shiites that's happening in Iran, and then you have something like the Sunnis in Islam. But I do, Soldier and I could probably keep on going back and forth. But Stephanie, you had a point. I really am sending it all back over to you. What's
Go for it, Steph.
So, first of all, Demolished Doctrine, I think I heard you say that you respect the Quran. I happen to have a copy right here in Arabic. And I wonder, in the history of Islam, there was the doctrine of ijtihad, which was the doctrine of interpretation. And there's a concept of the door of ijtihad, which was closed. I mean, Europe as a whole owes a debt to the Islamic world in preserving the old Greek philosophers, preserving those manuscripts. Thomas Aquinas would not have had his doctrine were it not for Islamic philosophers like Averroes or Ibn Rushd was his actual name.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second? You are explaining the fact that when many of the, I believe it was Constantinople, when the Roman Church first fell, they eventually, in fact, Plato's Academy kept on going until Christianity eventually shut it down and said that there was no outside churches, and it was the Muslim medieval philosophers, scholars, whatever you want to call them, that actually kept on all of Aquinas's work, as well as much of the ancient philosophy, so that we could have it today.
Aquinas was a Catholic cleric in Paris who took up, who learned via via Ibn Rushd, Averroes, and who was the Persian? I forget. Anyway, what I was trying to get at was the Christian world, the European world, owes a tremendous debt to ijtihad, which was the interpretation of philosophy, which was far more open in Islamic society in the Middle Ages than it ever was in Europe, because Europe was under the throes of Catholicism, and a form of Christianity which was incredibly top down. The door of ijtihad in Islam closed in, I believe, the years 1100, somewhere around there. At which point doctrine was frozen in Islam, and the door of interpretation of text was closed. And so Islam has been frozen in a non-interpretive state, in a doctrinal state since then. Whereas the door opened in Europe to starting to interpret texts, to starting to open the notion of interpreting religion for themselves. And you get the Reformation. You get out of that comes the Reformation, comes the Renaissance, the reconnecting of European history to its foundations in Rome and Greece and all of that other stuff. So there is that stuff, but these are just sort of historical oddities. But to the more fundamental point, what Daniel was trying to promulgate was that atheists that Islam is better, or any authoritarian structure is better than atheism, because Islam is family centered, is focused on structure, on accepted norms of behavior. He even throughout at once in the debate, he brought up transgenderism, which is really kind of crazy, as if there weren't trans people in the Muslim world.
Right.
I mean, it's just this, and what he's trying to do is saying it is the exclusion of people from the human family. Yeah. So it's like I want you to follow my dictates as to what the human family is, to the exclusion of your own families.
Can I just pick up on
your
that?
That's the
family
same
ain't
argument.
A real family, because
That's the same argument of the Republican right now. It's the exact same argument.
It's totalitarian. It's authoritarianism.
What it's basically saying. You're fantastic. In fact, I would say this is a show to both be skeptic and ranting, so you can take as long as you want. But I would agree with you and say that in an ironic way, and it's not just like that song where it's all about coincidences. This is actual irony. They're anti-family values. Like, exactly. They are in essence saying this is what can be a family, and your tribes out there, not the real family.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a problem. To me, that's why, whether it's Islam or any system of beliefs that frames a cultural framework to be, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. That's no longer a dialogue. That's no longer an enterprise where you're trying to understand the wide, various, and beautiful dimensions of human experience.
Amen.
I mean, me as a trans woman living in the United States of America right now, I mean, at the age of 69, I've seen tremendous evolution, and I've seen the growth of acceptance
Woo-hoo.
over the course of my lifetime. From a childhood where I was an impossible girl to
Right.
now where I'm just living my, as best as I can. And there are people who accept me as who I am.
Yep.
And to
And
me,
if I could,
whether it's atheism or progressive forms of the people who will rely on this text or the Bible and take that thing, yeah, right there, and draw from their traditions in an expansive rather than a contractive way. I can talk to those people. I can forge common ground with those people to move towards a better, more accepting society.
and if I could just continue to bounce off that, what they view as the degeneracy of the failing and falling of society is the symptoms of us being successful. Basically, we are becoming accepting, open-minded, and empathetic, and their reaction is, it's the end of the world!
Right.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Not
And
traumatic.
and Islamic countries are far worse than that than any other countries. I mean, oh my God, I couldn't imagine being a trans person in Saudi Arabia or Syria or
Kentucky.
Iraq. Yeah, or Kentucky.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
let's be honest.
yeah, absolutely.
But by the same token, Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world, and they're relatively tolerant.
Relatively.
Relatively tolerant.
Yeah.
Thailand is more Buddhist than Muslim.
Yeah, more Buddhist.
Yeah.
Yep.
But let's talk about something.
Thailand has a significant Muslim population too.
Yeah.
It's so much of it is cultural.
But they're not controlled by Muslims, and they don't have Sharia law
well, that's
going
the
on.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
when the culture has more influence than the religion necessarily, you tend to have better outcomes.
And I just want to say, Jordan, you beat me, but I was actually just about to say that. There is a weird type of opposite hate in Iran. However, that's not good either. And it is also perpetrated by religion. So in Iran, they push heavily towards being transgender if you are any form of LGBTQ. That means if you are a gay man, a masculine gay man, they are going to push you to become a transgender woman.
You should try to be a woman.
Interesting.
Now, that is a hard
that's true.
in a different
weird,
direction.
but true.
And that is also, once again, hashtag religion. And so the secular system, because that is what happened to Alan Turing. Alan Turing got forcefully feminized, and he committed suicide because of it. Because back in the day, the UK, after he won us the war, after he cracked codes so that we don't speak German right now, they found out he was gay. And what was their way of thanking him? Well, they gave him two choices. He could go to prison, or he could have what they considered a forceful castration, which was estrogen. Okay? And if you think that estrogen made him stop having feelings about who he was, it just made everything worse. It made him question, because he actually liked his body, and he saw what was going on as a horror show, and he ate a cyanide-filled apple. Wow. So it doesn't matter what country, it doesn't matter what religion or what theocracy or autocracy. I mean, we are pushing for what, in my opinion, the interlocutor was pushing so hard for against freedom. It doesn't have to be like this 100%. They like to also go to this like everything has to be 100%. Everything needs to be. No, you're using that as your guiding light. That doesn't mean we have to scream fire in the movie theater. However, yeah, we probably should be decent human beings. Can't we walk and chew bubble gum? Does it really have to be this hard?
You know
And
what
it's
was
a
interesting
very,
too?
very-
What was interesting too is he was his name Daniel. He wasn't like he wasn't arguing about the truth of the Quran or the truth of Muhammad. Those weren't his arguments at all. Like he did not like go to that presuppositionalist effect of arguing the Quran on that. He kind of pretty much stuck to this is better for society type of argument rather than whether it was true or not, which I thought was really interesting.
I was completely ready.
I think it was a
you
subtext. I do think it was a subtext. I think that, the truth of the Quran and the dictates of the Quran were a subtext upon which you lay your own prejudices and your own feelings of these people are superior, these people are inferior. I think that was part and parcel of his argumentation, even though he wasn't making those points explicitly.
Right.
It was like, if you listen to his argumentation, it was basically, Islam lays out what's a family, what societal mores are acceptable and what are not. And if you don't accept that, if you don't submit to that, then you are destroying families. And the problem is
personally
that depends so carefully on the construct of family that exists in Daniel's own head. And he doesn't accept that anyone else could have a different definition.
What's so amazing is that there are still Islamic countries where the definition of family means that you can marry multiple wives, right? Like Saudi Arabia. And if you look at the history of even the Old Testament, traditional marriage is you can marry multiple wives. What Solomon had how many wives? So this notion.
Let's throw the concubines in there too. I mean, let's not forget those folks.
Yeah, so the Christian and Daniel's argument of what a family means, this modern of like one man and one woman, that's kind of bullshit when it comes to if you look at religious texts amongst the Quran and the Old Testament, for example.
I was distracted by Amy busting out the flogger there. Sorry.
Listen, it's called submission for a reason. No, all yours.
We're in different states. I'm not going there. But if I get it in my head to travel, that being the case, I mean, the fact of the matter is pretty much all of the Abrahamic religions push polygamy to a degree,
right?
Up until you get to like the New Testament, sort of.
Yeah.
Well,
right. But the fact is,
the Catholic Church is none of the nuns are none of this and none of that. So there you go.
Yeah, but how many? And that's the whole thing. Like, at least to me, it's this pressure to give up your own autonomy, and tell you how to act instead of expecting you to act like a respectable person. And at least in my experience, and I've worked in a whole lot of management, if you treat people like they can be trusted to act like responsible adults, they generally act like responsible adults. And if you treat people like they can't be trusted and they have to be consistently observed and, policed and controlled, well, there's not really any reason for them to make decisions autonomously that are beneficial for not just themselves but the rest of society. And
I think there's a fair soupçon of pay involved in all of these discussions, wherein the control of sexuality, the control of basically human emotions and human experience needs to be controlled, needs to be fashioned in some way or another, usually to the detriment of women, to the benefit of men. And the controlling of sexuality is a big fucking deal in Islam,
it is.
in Christianity, it's all of these basic. Well, here are these things that we all acknowledge are part of our human existence: sexuality, food and drink, all of this basic shit that religions come up with this is the right way to do these things, down to that kind of granular level. And God
says so, don't question it.
Right. God said it, don't question it. Now, Daniel's whole point was equating a lack of a God belief to his understanding of religion. And there's nothing further from the truth. I know, Aaron said it at one point in the debate, I only know 3 conservative atheists. Well, I know more than 3 conservative atheists, and I don't think there's anything magical about atheism that eliminates patriarchal thinking, or that eliminates homophobia, or that eliminates transphobia. I know plenty of atheists that hold hideous beliefs.
Yeah,
but that's not the point. That the system of belief that is Islam, the system of belief that is Christianity, implicitly says in the fucking text that women, well, okay, I've got this too, but it's laid out strict. Show me the atheist Bible. Is there one? No.
It have a lot of
Pornhub. It would literally just say don't be an asshole. Right.
Yeah,
that would be the gist of the rules.
Which, to be fair, is also laid out in the Christian Bible. I mean, the golden rule is basically don't be a dick.
That's Confucius, really.
Well, it's definitely in there in pretty much every tradition. Because
it's that's the New Testament version of it, but if you have this version of the Old Testament Bible, which you still have to believe in if you're a Christian, the Old Testament God is a dick. He is an asshole. He is a dick. Yeah, I mean, he's someone to be feared of. He will kill you. He will flood the entire world and murder everybody, and not only you, but the animals too, even though they didn't do anything.
But soldier, he loves you. But I'm going to interrupt all of you because I want to ask a question.
He loves you and he needs money.
He needs money
and a spaceship. Funny
Carlin
enough.
nailed it.
But I'm also going to ask this question because I am so late on it. Sending love out to Pat. Please keep on sending all of your questions in at Amy Newman. We also enjoy all of the super chats, channel memberships, Patreon, all of your love. But Pat is sending in a question I do think the question should be framed as, what makes for better for society, secular humanism or theocratic Islam? The real issue is theocracy. regardless of whichever religion. I 100% agree, Pat. I think it's framed this way just because of it keeps the spice real in debates, because it
Keeps
ends
us
up
on
being
point.
secularism versus religion anyway, because all of the religious people incorrectly think that secular, well, not all. Let me correctly. A lot of the creationists think that atheism just is secularism anyway, and so they try and throw that. But yes, I agree that it is kind of, it's either a government that has no belief in any religion, which means that you can have a religion, or it is this theocratic, you have to believe. I don't even know how you could pitch. It was a weird thing that freedom can come from the less freedom. But just wait, y'all. We're going to get A by getting a lot more not A. We're just going to do it. We're going to do it up. But yes, someone can answer this for Pat, and then make a few more comments.
I'll answer for Pat. I'll answer for Pat.
And then after you answer,
I have an answer there too, but
and then after we get two answers, we are then going to add Phil G, the skeptic atheist. It sounds like we might have three, but that's okay.
Awesome.
We got this.
Theocratic Islam. I mean, obviously, you have non-humanistic values there, right? You have subjugation of women. You have subjugation of the LGBT community. You have subjugation of freedom that is not adherence to the mullahs, right? I mean, so there's all kinds of non-autonomy that the population will suffer based on theocratic Islamic rule. So obviously that's a given right there. Go. Anybody else? Go.
All right.
Got two more left.
Well, so I mean, ultimately, look, it comes down to religions, by and large, are kind of crazy, just in general, and therefore don't serve as a reasonable way to do things, right? And I mention this because, like, one of my ex-wives, because I'm occasionally married.
How many do you have?
I'm a stubborn optimist. but my second wife, her family was very hardcore Irish Catholic. But her sister married an Egyptian Muslim and converted to Islam, right? And so there were always these crazy like arguments that I would get drug into. I guess they thought that as an atheist, I was a neutral third party or something. I don't know. But I would explain, like, okay, under Roman Catholicism, transubstantiation essentially means you are engaging in ritual cannibalism, literally, right? That's pretty crazy. But also, giving up pork and liquor in exchange for virgins seems also pretty crazy. Like, I wouldn't do that. Pork and liquor are better than virgins. Like, this is a terrible.
I just want to say very specifically, I eat bacon for religious reasons.
This conversation is being recorded.
The fact is, like, I have a friend who's a Scientologist, and he was crazy, like, apprehensive about sharing that with anybody, including myself. And ultimately, I was like, look, man, you're not crazier than any of the rest of them. Your religion's just newer, right? But at the end of the day, all of them really force you to give up autonomous thinking. And I cannot fathom how a society can be better or more conducive to human flourishing if it requires you to give up human autonomy. Like, it just, at the end of the day, like, that's kind of what makes us us, you know. And to give that up, it's like a dog giving up the ability to run in an open field. Like, you can't do that.
To get to Pat's point, you know, I said earlier there are quote unquote progressive forms of many religions, and I talked about the door of each jihad being closed, and it'd be a great thing if it was opened again, so that Muslims could evaluate their faith for themselves within their own context. I think that it's not necessarily secular humanism; it's what you do with your beliefs. You know, how do you treat people at the end of the day?
Right.
Are you able to find a way of framing your beliefs in such a fashion as to treat your neighbor with a decent amount of respect? And anything that's theocratic implies some sort of authoritarianism, like you're going to believe your pastor as opposed to believing your gay friend or your trans friend. You know, it's like you need some sort of a line of authority in order to govern what you do with your life, rather than thinking for yourself. And that's, you know, you're cutting yourself off from your own experience and the experience of the people you interact with within your own family. And that sucks. Whether it's Islam or Christianity or any other.
Well, it's a bad way to go out doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, imagine in the United States where we value someone who went to a seminary school to study a Bible and memorize a Bible, and we value that person as much as someone who went to school to be a brain surgeon. It's pretty phenomenal if you think about it. Like we really elevate someone who is a person of faith as someone who is a brain surgeon. We put them on that same pedestal, like, oh, this person is really super smart. And no, they went to school and studied freaking Harry Potter, you know, basically, you know, and we value that person as basically they must be smarter than us because they memorized Harry Potter for, you know, 4 years. And to me, when I became an atheist, I was a Christian for 40 years and I became an atheist. After that, I was like, dude, all those guys who went to seminary, they probably got to the point where they were like, this is bullshit, but I've invested a lot of time at this point. And so, should I just keep going? Or do I become an...
But then there's also like Ben Carson
demolished doctrine, right?
went to school to be a brain surgeon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Not better than somebody who went to school to study the Bible. Like zero improvement.
No, absolutely.
And so I'm going to interrupt both of you guys. Just sending love to Jordan. The COVID restrictions have been loosening up. Everything's going back to normal, which means the open mics are opening back up. And I am going to be heading up. The way I kind of done is I do some improv. I record that. I work out the muscle. And then once I get a good routine, I record that. And then I release a bit. So hopefully coming soon, even more. We had a little snafu with our first episode of Skeptic on the Street, but that is going to be released either tomorrow or the next day, depending on when James and I go live next. But that's going to go out. We're about to have more impromptu debate use, more open mics with our Bible studies, midnight rantings, and Skeptic and Rantings like here, as well as we have more Talk Skeptics to me and Creative and Comical, where I'm going to try and release more content on how to make podcasts on how to make multimedia, like web design, video, audio, all sorts of fun stuff, as well as once all that's done and is officially launched, including Debate Me Bras. We have debates getting set up. Once all that is launched, all that, we will finally have the scam baiting show that I'm trying to set up.
Scam baiting.
Scam baiting is a wonderful thing.
Oh, and it's so much fun. It's
hilarious.
And you get used to, just like you're serving a coffee, because I heard this lady just trying to say, like, the double macchiato whipped cream. I just have, hello, this is the FBI fraud department, Agent Sarah talking. How may I help you? And Dad, I am ready for it. They are not ready. Once again, this is the not safe, work safe, but Sarah Loves Dick is always on the job. She is continuing. And it takes a little while, but she always gets what she wants.
Oh my God!
But yes,
I can tell you, scam baiting is one of my favorite things to watch. Kit Boga's great.
Yeah,
and Atomic Shrimp does some really good, like email scam baiting. It's genuine entertainment.
There's a couple of people now that have like people on the inside in India, right? That they went into the offices and like used their CCTV cameras and recorded them, and actually had people bust people in India for scams. I don't know all their channels, but yeah, that stuff's pretty exciting.
This will be the last thing I say. I really do want to get Phil G in here, but not Kit Boga. The other Pierogi is fantastic at not only speaking Hindi, but also reporting them to the authorities and actually getting them something done. But with that, we are going to introduce, because we can keep on talking about it, but I do want him to be in the conversation. Phil G, the Skeptic Atheist, welcome aboard. We are Skeptic Ranting on what's best for society.
If I can just throw this out here real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, can you wait just 1 second?
Of course.
Let's just want to give you your opening on the debate, the topic, or anything we've been talking about. But then Wilbur,
right?
I got you.
Oh yeah. It's definitely secular humanism, right? Of course, based on atheism, because and not the religious, because the religious tend, as we can see, a good example is Iran right now, when religion takes over, how people rights are trampled upon, people who don't agree. The secular humanism, it allows for everyone to have a say, but where the government doesn't pander to one religion, right? And especially like even in public schools, and I can tell you here, the public schools here, government has pandered to Christianity. And up to Friday, when they had full assembly, teacher was preaching at the children. So Christianity, I was kind of really peeved.
So I just want to say, and I know this annoys the fundies, but that's kind of our job, and I'm going to give it over to Wilbur. But you cannot groom children to become gay. However, you can indoctrinate them with religion.
Yeah. Can I?
Well, hold on 1 second. Wilbur, the force is yours. The floor is yours, but then it's off to everyone else.
So there's one thing I want to mention real quick. Amy, if you are ever touring, doing stand-up and you're in Denver, let me know.
Absolutely.
Because I will absolutely come see you.
I know that Demolished Doctrine has had their hand up a bit ago. I don't know if you want to get in here.
I'm sorry, Richard.
That being the case, I'll keep point two very, very brief. Phil mentioned, when it comes to things like, LGBTQ rights and stuff like that, it's clearly beneficial to have a secular humanist view as opposed to any kind of theocratic view. Solely because, like, as soon as you just decide that people in those various groups are terrible, reprobates, well, then you can just treat them however you want. And it's fine. And that just, that's not good for anybody. And in fact, it's only detrimental to society at large.
And so I not only agree, but I also feel bad because I know that it's basically, well, you probably consider yourself a skeptic, but it's atheist, and I want to give the theist thought here, Richard, as much time as you want. So I know you're always very polite, and so we may have to, I want to make sure you get your turn. So Richard, what's on your mind?
Thank you very much. I'm going to see myself to the door very soon, but thank you so much for letting me on your show. As short as I can be here, I appreciate it deeply. I really do. To Soldier's point, no, these people do not have reasonably good educations and things that will apply well to life. They don't. They're preachers. In fact, I'd go so far as to say the kind of education, indoctrination that they're going through it's not actually useful for much. And a person who doesn't say, and I think you're right, some are sellouts saying, I'm too invested to quit now. I'm going to keep going, whether I believe these things or not. Although I find there's many like Dr. Joshua Bowen who left for the last lack of historicity of it, seeing that they couldn't lie to themselves and they couldn't maintain the position.
Right.
Although takes all of his education very seriously. But
super smart guy.
Yes, absolutely, and honest, and I appreciate him a lot. But as soon as we say something like someone is either A, dishonest for being able to maintain something they don't know, or B, not very bright for not realizing that it's not true. We've disqualified them in two different ways. Now, I want to ask the question of everyone generally. Why should I believe a person like that on the meanings in a very complicated piece of literature?
No, that's honest. I mean, that's honest. And ultimately, I think that, like I told you, I was a Christian for 40 years. Ultimately, it comes down to, like, am I afraid to die? Right? Am I afraid to die? And am I afraid to die and not go to heaven? And so obviously, people that I follow in religion that provide me an answer for that I can go to heaven is very secure. It's very reaffirming, and that's a way better message than me going into, well, this is not true and it's better to be an atheist because this is not true. I obviously think that message is far more powerful for people who still.
Well, then let me just say something real quick before I go. It is obviously and evidently not true that the promises from within the text is not made to any general population. You can tell because they're not fulfilled. That is, I'll protect you in every way. I will give the angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. That does not happen. When a person prays in the name of Jesus Christ, they do not automatically have their prayer answered. These things are not true. But if I asked in the story, at least in an internal critique, who gets all their prayers answered, someone can easily answer Jesus Christ, and they'd be consistent in that. So if those promises are not to a populace, but are to the Jesus Christ and the Jesus Christ alone, then those promises are fulfilled. And that's the sort of thing that is just staring in the face of the theist they don't seem to see.
Yeah.
So Thank you so very much, Richard. But I actually want to give you a double scoop. In fact, if you're about to leave, we're skeptic and ranting on what's better for society, Islam or atheism. We're going to go for 30-ish more minutes. But I want to know, what are your thoughts, final thoughts on the debate, the topic, or anything we're talking about?
My closing thoughts are there is nothing about these religious stories in the Christian or practitioner, whatever practice it is, in their description of what they're seeing in the text as mandated morality that should be followed. I don't think it's even intended to be thought of that way. The only other thing that I would say is peace and respect to you all. And I look forward to the day we're all great friends.
Assalamu alaikum, my friend. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
And that goal is already...
Salam. It's the proper response.
I know, but I'm non-traditional.
I'll be honest with you, and we're about to get nitty in here, but I'm I don't even want to say what it is, because even saying it would be so spicy. But Richard has, I would say, not what are traditional theistic beliefs, but I'm so interested lately in his. We need to get him on more. But that's just like a spicy to coming soon. So thank you so much, Richard. We're going to get nitty in here. But as we do, I'm going to keep on sending it. I don't know. I guess the Muslim Dawaists are just too scared. I can't even say it with a straight face. I'm sending love out there, whether you're theist, atheist. That's right, Nick. Got to bring the spice. What is up? I have been loving all of your content. The service people that you have brought on have been fantastic, have just gave in-depth explanations, and very relaxed, good conversations. You get a lot of information out of them for them being such technically sophisticated guys. So sending love in time, on time. Go check Nick out.
Hi, Nicky. Hi, Nicholas.
But let's get Nitty on before I keep on blabbing. Nitty, we are skeptic and ranting. What's best for society, Islam or
Hey, welcome, Nitty.
What's your thoughts about the debate, the topic, Taco Tuesday?
Ooh, I miss Taco Tuesday, so that's... But I would take a very spicy taco. But what's better for society, atheism or Islam? I'm going to lean atheism, obviously. But I'm going to just freely admit that when I was a Christian, I was very, convinced by Act 17 apologetics and David Wood that Islam is terrible. And, with people like Apostate Prophet running around and him teaming up with a Christian, it's an interesting combo that, leaves a lasting set of ideas that when you leave Christianity, you get to keep deconstructing those and saying, hey, is Islam still that bad? Were they strawmanning it the whole time? I don't know.
Can I say something just because I find that interesting? So I met David Wood from the last DebateCon, just in the breakfast. My partner had to pick him up, but she's not in like the debate community, and so she knew nothing. And I was talking. I'm like, "Hey, there's a psychopath coming." She's like, "There's a psychopath coming? That's crazy. How would they let that person in?" Also, David Wood's here. I just dropped him off. I'm like, "Oh, cool." The funny thing is, what I find funny about him is if you don't know he's a Christian, his debates against Islam just sound like it's an atheist. It just sounds like it's an atheist versus Islam. And so, I end up agreeing with a lot of his talking points until you hear him talk about
most. It's all kind of like, well, I just believe one less God than you do. Can I just throw something out there? I mean, I come from the social gospel tradition of the Christian church. My family is incredibly Methodist. My nephew is just celebrated 30 years in the ministry, and he very much loves his aunt, which is rather nice. And tomorrow on Transgender Day of Remembrance, I am actually speaking at a United Methodist Church in South Carolina.
Awesome. Wow.
And I am going to
Nice.
I am going to reach out to
Get
that
it.
community and try to show I'm just another person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's incredible.
And that's the way to go.
I mean,
about
what do you,
honestly.
are United Methodists like pro progression?
They're
they pro-
disunited at the moment. I mean, there's schism in the Methodist Church. There's schism
Yeah.
in a number of denominations where
Mhm.
where the people who are quote unquote welcoming and affirming are basically speaking the notion that we ought to recognize the common humanity in everyone around us.
Interesting.
And those who basically have the view that, this is the word of God. This is the word of God right here. Now, if you're not listening to the word of God, why you don't have no hope. How can you have hope? How can you have morality? How can you have anything? And
I mean,
hold
that's
on 1 second. I just want to make 2 points, and then it sounds like there's a few. It sounds like Phil G, someone else speaking, and then I want to get Pat G.
Yeah, he's been trying.
The great thing I have found is that it goes two options. One is that they are very fundamentalist, in which they are listening to the book, and I give them props for taking the literal interpretation. On the other respect, there's a bunch of people who completely ignore the book and basically are like, you know what? Don't wear a hijab. You know what? Just love your gay brothers and sisters, and I kind of appreciate that too. I kind of like that, if anything, better. And I just want to say,
Amy said what I'm thinking.
Oh, there you go. The funny thing is, on just the atheist versus Christian, when it comes to Christian versus Muslim, they almost try and out atheist themselves. When I go on Muslim channels, I have to be like, is this the deist channel? Are we just talking about kalam and contingency arguments?
Yeah, but that's how it usually is with the Christians too.
I don't know if you guys know this, but the Muhammad actually had this book called the Quran. Have you guys actually opened it and cracked that open? Oh no. And so it is kind of weird in isolation. Yeah. They don't none of them want to defend the miracles. None of them, because they sound silly. It's not until they remove the atheist completely and they are on their own, it becomes like the Harry Potter versus Star Wars debate battle that we, I guess, aren't pervy to. I'll let anyone else
I think
whatever they want, but then Pat.
I think Amy was kind of said the politically correct version of you know what? She respects people who adhere to the fundamentalist text of whether it's the Quran or the Bible. And if you are a moderate religious believer who accepts transgenderism or gay people, you probably shouldn't even be following a religion, right? At that point. I mean, if you are honestly,
there are religious traditions that are okay with that.
There are, but they're not following the fundamental points of their Bible, and so society and religion has accommodated to accepting more modern points of view and more progressiveness, and really. I think if you're an atheist and if you believe that that's kind of hypocritical, you should probably just not be believing in God and believing in the religion that teaches the hate in the first place, in my opinion.
Also, I have one last. Can you hold on? just because we're on the subject, I have one last thing to say about it, but then I want to get Pat, and then I'll let you say whatever you want. I have to criticize someone that I deeply respect. He's my elder in my community, a side community from skepticism, the comedic community. But he is, I would say, the second best living comedian in the world, and probably my second favorite comedian. However, he's a moderate Muslim, and so he's kind of on the subject. And he made a statement, a joke that, while I like some of it, I just have to point out. He made a comment that was like, "Oh, well, when a bunch of Italians get together, it can't just be the mob, and when a bunch of Arabic people, it can't just be the terrorist attack or an organization plot. And when a bunch of Jews get together, it's just a hangout," implying the joke, the punchline is it actually is. But jokes, I just have to point out, once again, he's my elder. He knows the subject, the comedy business way better than I ever will be, and I can only learn from him. However, a bunch of Italians getting together probably isn't the mafia. A bunch of Muslims and Arabic people getting together, probably not a terrorist plot. And a bunch of Jews randomly hanging out, probably not controlling the world. So I don't know. I felt very deeply, probably
That
not,
depends on
about
who you
this
ask.
point. Well, I heard that on SNL. I guess it depends on who you ask, including my own elders in my comedy community. I disagree. Like I say, I agree on almost everything he says. There's a lot that people just don't get about. I wish if they took the time to listen. However, I would actually push back on that point. Maybe I just don't get his point. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that out there. Once again, second best comedian living in the world. So who am I? But I just have to say. All right, let's keep on sending.
Yeah, I think Phil G's been waiting a long time.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll hold off.
Can you just promise me? I want to get Pat on, and he just has to say, and then you can all say whatever you want. I promise.
Hey guys, I just want to say I gotta go, but thanks Amy for letting me in, and thank you guys for.
Well, you just got the one free pass in this. We have been Skeptic and Ranting, Soldier of Science, on
thank you.
What's best for society, Islam or atheism. What's your final thoughts? Oh, there we go. His final thoughts were, thank you. That's okay, because we are going to get Pat Lowinger. Pat Lowinger, welcome.
Hi, Pat.
We are Skeptic and Ranting on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. Welcome on board, and what are your thoughts about the debate, the topic, anything we would talk about tonight?
Well, I just want to say, I go back to an earlier statement I made. I think secularism, and regardless of any other caveats, to be the better system. And I just wanted to, I saw Nick sometimes on time, but never actually on time Suitor in the audience. And I thought he was going to.
Oh, snap.
But, I'm in here to, drop that challenge to him, maybe sometime, anytime, another time he can come on, maybe time. So that's it. I'll just sit back and pop in as you guys need me to. Or
woo-hoo! Welcome on board, Pat. 20 more minutes, and I'm going to try and stick to it, because that will give everyone enough to get into 3 and change. But yes, keep on. We're Skeptic and Ranting. What's best for society, Islam or atheism? And I know many of you had points. I know Phil G. I know Stephanie. It's all whenever you'd like. The floor is yours.
Yeah, just something I wanted to say with reference to the Methodists and LGBTQ. They had a conference where there was supposed to vote on allowing marriage of LGBTQ, and a large majority who accept in the United States who accept LGBTQ, they were pushing the vote through. But who stopped them mainly? The Africans. It was the African vote. They had a large delegation. And Africa is still in the dark ages. And they,
Yeah, I'm
so-
not surprised by a lot of that.
So when I saw a documentary on it, and when I saw the Africans, and they said the Africans, the large majority, they said that's not going to go through, because I know how it is. Even the Caribbean, if the Caribbean is there, it will not go through, because a good majority of Caribbean islands are very fundamentalist in their thinking. Even within the Methodist Church, a lot of them are. So, yeah.
Also, could we just talk about how a lot of these forces that they have now are because of imperialism? A lot of the anti-LGBTQ and all this. So it was a very weird point that he was like, imperialism. But yes, I know Stephanie had points. And yeah, it's just very odd.
Yeah, I think I spoke to that earlier. It's like it's a very curious argument to make that, well, these are imperialist forces when what Daniel was trying to say was, I want to be the imperialist. It's like I don't want, I want to control your thoughts. I want to control your societies. I want to do this and that. So I want to be the new imperialist here. That's a very, very curious place to put yourself, in my view. I mean, I'm not going to deny that European colonialism was bad, like genocidal in some cases, in a lot of places, very genocidal, and focused on religious beliefs. So, like, we're here to convert the heathens and all of that kind of thing. But that to tie European colonialist attitudes, or any nation's colonialist attitudes, towards atheism or skepticism is a straw man of gargantuan proportions. I mean, it's not even close.
But it was also like, we learn from our mistakes. We don't look at the mistakes and be like, this is a hand guide.
Yeah, I mean, it's and to come at it from the point of view of a traditional Muslim, what do you call the Arab conquest? You don't call that imperialism. You don't call that subjugation. You don't. You're going to give a pass to Muhammad and Umar and Ibn Abbas. You're going to give those guys a pass, but you're going to be anti-crusaders? Come on, seriously? That's not even it's not historical. It's not ideologically consistent. It's just working off your own prejudices, and to direct that critique at people who are basically saying people ought to be able to make up their own minds. People ought to be able to think for themselves. People ought to be able to be skeptical about declarations from a caliph or a pope. I mean, come on, dude. You're not on the same fucking. You're not on the same argumentative. You're not on the same argumentative planet. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
What's interesting about that is, so everything Stephanie just mentioned is completely accurate. That being the case, there are secular or non-religious imperialist governments in history as well. I mean, just look at the Soviet Union. That being the case, I tend to look at those things, having, as an historian, I used to be a history teacher. It really comes down to, these are things people do, right? And they find whatever justification they can. It's just that religion provides that very readily available, easy justification. Whereas outside of religion, you have to actually come up with something else, and even if you do come up with something else outside of a religion, it still has to be justifiable in an empirical way, whereas a religion is readily available to just say, well, God says so. So I don't need to think any further than that.
I mean, I can
Also, just sending love to Jena, the queen of the production, and also the entire Tang Gang. Hashtag Tang Gang.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. We're all right back
Tang
to
Gang. Let's go. Let's go, Tang Gang.
But yeah,
I mean,
panel.
I
We
could-
have
I could
15
start
more
reading-
minutes.
I could start reading Rudyard Kipling, but no, it's like take up the white man's burden. It's like, oh,
Ew,
Jesus Christ,
it's so
you
gross.
know, seriously.
And Kipling was a great writer. I hate that he said stuff like that.
I know, right? I mean, it's like I'm English by background. Yes, my entire family is incredibly stupidly English. And, you know, I've always said the English are the nastiest, but polite people on the planet. The only people worse are Americans. Of their,
They came by it
like
honestly.
me, you know.
They came by it honestly. It's an interesting trend in history that cultures that suffer extreme predation and hardship, when given an opportunity, they really tend to expand and dominate as soon as they have a chance to. And the English are no different. I mean, if you look at the way that I'm gonna go totally history nerd here, but if you look at the way they were affected by the collapse of the Bronze Age economy, it was inherent. It was going to happen because it was a group of people who were living high on the hog, and then all of a sudden, poof, their entire economy was gone. And the Romans pulled out, and there was this huge power vacuum.
That's what he or she said.
Right. Well, I mean,
Back in
Romans were not known for pulling out.
Oh my!
Back in the day, we had copper, and then in the 18th and 19th century, we had coal.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. The reason the Bronze Age was so beneficial to the Britons.
You mean Iron Age?
Was the Bronze Age.
Romans weren't in Britain during the Bronze Age.
Yes, they were.
Oh
but
my!
They were. For the tin.
Oh dear.
For tin, because tin is actually a fairly rare element.
Wilbur,
but it's required for making bronze.
Okay, so my question:
those were Phoenicians in the Bronze. Yes, there were people from off island, but those were the Phoenicians that were going to the British Isles for tin.
Rome didn't even have contact.
The Romans did too.
Not until the 1st century BC. The Romans had no contact with Britain until Caesar.
Yeah,
and then we have
Julius Caesar was BC.
Yeah. I just said that 1st century BC.
Oh. Sorry, I misheard you.
But that's Bronze Age ends 11th century, right? BC. Romans weren't there. It's I think you just conflated Iron Age and Bronze Age.
Fair enough, but there was still a ton of trade.
Oh right. Well, the whole reason the Romans wanted to go there is once the British started minting their own coins, and the Romans thought, well, look at this. We can it's easier to conquer and then trade with them because those pesky Celts. Right?
They never got to Wales, though. The Romans, they never managed to. They never managed to get into Wales or Scotland.
So
the Welsh were very good with their
Wilbur, make your final point, but then when you're done your final point, tell the panel so I can bring up a comment.
Okay. Well, I mean, as far as the final point, I would just chalk it up to secularism is better.
Oh, no. Just your final point on that subject. It just felt like there was something on your mind.
Oh, no. I mean, ultimately, it's just when you see an economy collapse, especially a raw element economy collapse. I mean, we saw this in Iraq after the U.S. pulled out, right? You're going to have a power vacuum, and people are going to take over. Typically, they're going to be warlords, and that's who took over Britain.
And on that note, I just want to say that sending love to Jordan. Well, no, actually, Soros is allowing us to continue. He did say that this is allowed to happen. But yes, atheist, agnostics. The funny thing is that to theists, these tend to be theological, scriptural debates where our immortal souls lie in the balance. On the contrary, these are the subjects we could disagree on over beer. So it is fantastic to be a non-believer. We're like cats. We can believe whatever we want. It's just that the theological baggage of all the Abrahamic stuff just melts away without that. So it is nice. And I see
nice.
Nitty had to dip. So sending love to Nitty. But we are still doing our final countdown, the final countdown for 10 minutes. So if you're a Muslim, now is the chance to prove that Muhammad was the final chance. That's right. Look, anytime that I get to sneak something in somewhere, what are we even talking about anyway? Let's get into, we're talking atheism versus Islam. I think it's funny. I always joke with like the Christians and Jews, even though it's, I kind of a little bit feel this way, but I'm like, we've potty trained the Christians and Jews. And so now it's time to just move on to Islam. However, the theocrats are very strong within Christianity. Unfortunately, we still have a little bit of pushback, reactionary, but man, you could just feel the desperation in this guy's voice. It was just give me a theocracy. Come on. Can't a guy just get a theocracy?
It sounds like half the representatives in the House, let's be honest.
Yeah, well, that was the guy's whole point. Oh, yeah, well, I'd love to live under a Hindu theocracy. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you
out of your head?
It's like, no, you probably wouldn't in real life, in practical terms. If you lived in a Hindu theocracy, you probably wouldn't enjoy it all that much. Except here's the dude basically going, well, yeah, because it's better than atheism. Why is it better than atheism? Because somebody is defining what a family is to me. Somebody is defining what a human being is to me. Somebody is doing this. And even if I don't accept that, at least somebody's doing that. And that seems to me to be a very fucking poor excuse for a society where people can get along and be. It's just, what a ridiculous argument.
Yep.
I agree. And what is up, Knox? Sending love. Boom, boom, boom.
And I just
Phil, you were about to say something.
Yeah, and on top of that, the Hindu caste system is a problem.
Yeah,
serious problem.
It's huge.
Any caste system that is not a role-playing game is an issue. That's generally where I.
Mostly, there are other realms where some kind of caste system can be enjoyable.
I know, I'm just being playful. Ooh, enjoyable. Now we're talking.
That being the case, it has to be voluntary, and that's the big thing. And again, I still come back to, and Stephanie touched on this as well. It's somebody else is telling me what a family is. Somebody else is telling me what proper marriage is. Somebody else is telling me what morality is, rather than thinking about it for yourself and figuring out, like, oh, okay, well, this makes sense.
I can go all Iggy Pop here and go, yeah, I want to be your dog, but that's at least my choice.
Well, yeah.
And also, I am gonna get Clockwork Rex. It looks like they're going to be our last panel member unless a Muslim comes on, in which case we'll probably go for another 2 or 3 hours. So we're just going to get Clockwork Rex in here. Clockwork Rex, we are skeptic and ranting on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. Not a lot of love for Muslim theocracies tonight.
Yeah, I was listening and I heard that. Yeah. Yeah, it seems that way. But hey, everybody in chat,
Hey.
thanks for having me up.
Welcome.
Was Hadrian's Wall built to keep the Romans out in Britain?
No, it was built to keep the Picts out of England.
Yeah.
By the British. Or, I'm sorry,
okay.
by the Romans.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
about what era was that built? Do you know?
Oh,
Beginning of the 2nd century CE.
yeah, I wanted to say about 200.
Okay, fair enough. I was wondering about that because I've heard some stuff about it, read a little bit about it, but I couldn't remember when it was built.
Game of Thrones ice wall is based on that.
No way, man. That's the whole flat Earth thing. The ice wall around the flat Earth. That's
No. In Game of Thrones.
I just very
not the flat Earth thing.
I just very specifically want to do a PSA, even though 2 guys kind of ruined it. But we'll put that asterisk aside. But, however, winter is coming. Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of what George R.R. Martin wrote in the Ice and Fire books were based on actual shit, actual things that happened in history.
I mean, it's mostly rooted in the War of the Roses. I mean, York and Lancaster sounds an awful lot like Stark and Lannister for a reason.
Okay, I was confused. I thought there were real historical zombies. However, I'll take you.
Well, there are. I mean, Jesus.
They always are like, "Well, tip your fedora," even though technically speaking, I mean, if a guy dies and he's decomposed, they always try and come around like, no, it's a brand new Jesus. Like he came back completely new.
I'm waiting for the piece of historical fiction that starts in Judea. It's the 500 have just been raised, and a bunch of Roman soldiers are running out to the garrison and grabbing all their weapons and armor, and then to defeat the zombies. That's why it's never appears in any Roman records, is because they're sworn to
I thought that was the life of Brian.
That too.
Honestly,
that would be a great.
If you've ever read Lamb by Christopher Moore, it may well be the most sympathetic Jesus narrative I've ever read. And it's beautiful and heart-wrenching and funny, and it
better than my
really
Jesus
humanizes
fan fiction.
The guy. Sorry, what's that?
Better than my Jesus fan fiction?
I haven't read it, so I'm not going to say.
I like that answer. See that, ladies and gentlemen? Non-prejudice.
Is that Hey Zeus or Jesus?
Yes, very specifically my yoga teacher. I wish it was Jesus, but close enough. Okay.
I'd like to see Hera's texts to Zeus. I think that would be very fascinating. Well, because Hera was frequently pissed off by her husband. He's off fucking a cow, creating stuff like that.
Well, but he was a bull at the time.
Zeus had a Tinder account though, right? He did. He was on Tinder. Zeus was on Tinder.
Yeah, which way did he slide though, right?
Oh, the whole world was Zeus's Tinder.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Every once in a while,
That's why that's why a lot of the Greek gods are better. They're at least interesting. Like they do stuff.
I like Norse.
Yahweh had the good sense of not wanting to fuck the golden calf, so there's that.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, well, that's why he's boring.
All right.
I mean, Look, man, if I had good enough sense to not fuck people I shouldn't, my life would be way less interesting. I'm just saying.
Fair.
It's the spice of life. And he or she who controls the spice controls the universe.
Oh,
all right, I got it out.
Amy,
Once
are
a
you a Dune
podcast.
fan?
A little bit.
Frank Herbert is that's my Bible.
Listen, once the fear, I can't even paraphrase it correctly, but once the fear leaves my body, I'm fairly sure
I have a full back tattoo planned with the litany against fear.
Can I just say a shout out to James of Modern Day Debate? I'm pretty sure I can say this because he shows it off all the time, and I want to create a bit about it. But he has a full foot by foot inch subway tattoo, which is the only subway, and he gets for that subway tattoo, Subway for life. He gets $50,000 worth of Subway.
No shit. I may consider that.
Not a bad foot long. There's a joke in there somewhere.
That was like a 24 foot long baloney.
Oh my.
Is there a bad foot long? I mean, let's be honest.
I don't know.
Yeah, don't forget about the meatball. I mean, come on.
Phrasing.
No one will. No one will. We always want to include our meatballs.
Oh yeah, my favorite quote from Doom is fear is the mind killer.
Yep.
And I kind of
I was trying to quote that, but it was not coming to my lips, unlike other things. Which
I know.
Fear is the mind killer.
Yeah.
Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will let it pass over and through me. And when I turn my mind's eye to see the path behind me, there will be nothing. Only I will remain.
My name
has beautiful.
My name has become a killing word among them. That's
yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. And as you read further in the original 6 books, it just gets deeper and more profound and more beautiful. Like,
it's also somewhat appropriative of the whole thing about the Middle East and the desert and the spice mushroom and all of that stuff. It's very appropriative.
Wait a minute, Stephanie. Are you saying there's possibly some allusion to oil and spice and trade?
Why, yes,
travel?
Not at all.
No way. No, come on.
Of course not.
It's all in the
there are a lot of pissed off. A lot of people are culturally pissed off about that particular piece of appropriation. But that's what we do.
Well, and the fact that the emperor is modeled after the English and Germanic crowns, like they can. I mean,
which makes sense to do. I mean, honestly, if you consider it, like, so the British royal family, they're descended from the Habsburgs, right? Barbara Bush descended from the Habsburgs, right? I mean, that family is still in charge of the Western world. Like, it's not, that hasn't really changed that much.
Well, see, I read the Dune books. I read the Dune books when I was a kid, and I read that the fear is the mind killer. And so, I was like, well, I'll join the army. And one of the things
did not help.
Well, one of the first things my drill sergeant said to us was, "Pain is weakness leaving the body," and I was like, "Well, that's pretty fun." Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting series because it delves into so much of like why people do the things they do on a societal level, which speaks to a lot of kind of the topic that we're delving into here, right? What's the best way to go? Well, then we have to consider, like, how do people behave under certain circumstances, and what do they do? And under, if we arrange circumstances in a certain way, what are people likely to do?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So.
And all right, I think we are about to go into outros, and you can all take as much time as you want to say whatever. Ooh, looks like someone left. But sending so much love out to them and everyone that's been hanging with us. Oh, is James getting some back and forth from Satin. But sending love out there to Michael and Tim and Flum and Snipey. And there was almost a storm because the two best names were in chat. I saw the other day. I saw Titan Uranus and Stupid Whore Energy in the same stream. And that's like, I don't know. That almost made the stream explode. But Hillary's emails, Michael Smith, Jordan, Knock, what's up, Rage to Reason, Sending Love. Go check out his new channel out there, doing more great content. Marshall, Monkey for Banana, Uncle Beck, sending love to Uncle Beck, to
Beck's
Jena.
out there? Oh, so
That is right. But we are about to go into our outros. In fact, Pat was the most recent to join us, which means he is going to be starting us off as we move into our skeptic and ranting outros. Woo! What is up, Pat? Happy to have you on. As always, I cannot believe, is that from Greece in your background? Armenian, thank you so very much. It is lovely to have you transmitting from there. But what we really want to know is we have been skeptic and ranting on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. What do you got going on, like books or anything like that? And what are your final thoughts on the debate, the topic, and tacos? Anything?
Again, I think Aaron got it right. Secular humanism. I think when you actually start peeling back the onion on people that hold a theocratic view, it becomes problematic. I don't want to take too much time. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for all the panelists. I was hoping to get a lively debate engaged, but hopefully maybe next time we can get someone to come on and defend the other side of the argument.
But also you want to shout out your channel.
Yeah, Discovering Ancient History of Pat Lowinger. I'm taking some time off of my own channel. I got work I got to get done, but hopefully I'll have some stuff to report here in the next few weeks. But until then, you guys take care.
You still want to come on and do another episode with us soon?
Sure. Yep. I've been looking over the stuff.
Yes, I would say we have always had amazing feedback. Our fans, our supporters, the skeptics, they love having Pat on. So we want more Pat. And thank you so very much.
Learning stuff from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about.
Sometimes.
Someone actually.
Yeah, it turns out that's a good thing.
I know, right? And okay, we're gonna keep on going right down the list. Stephanie, we have been skeptic and ranting. We have in fact been talking about what's best for society, Islam or atheism. What do you have going on in the interwebs, and what are your final thoughts?
I'm just a crazy old lady who's a sailmaker and professional sailor in Maine, so I don't really have too much going on in the airwaves. I've been an idiot on Twitter for ages, but Twitter seems to be a little bit sketchy right now. So I've been at Sidra, that SIDHRA, there for many years, and now I'm on Mastodon, on Mastodon.social, same way. I've done a bunch of other stuff. I don't really have anything too much coming up. But you never know. I'm here and there. I'm often on Neil the 604 Atheist after shows and stuff, but you can catch me here and there. As far as the topic this evening, of course, the answer is definitely not theocratic Islam, nor any other cluster or of religious theocracy anywhere in the world. It's not good for humankind. So it's not good for folks like me, or for folks who are just trying to live their lives. The people that have an agenda are not trans people. They're not Black people. They're not marginalized communities. The people that have the agenda are the people who are trying to keep us down. And you really need to examine that. And if you're a member of one of those communities, you need to find allies. You need to find allies, build relationships, and change the world. Because you can. It's possible.
Amen. Thank you so very much, Stephanie. Couldn't agree more. It was lovely having you on. And that is right. We can be the
meeting
difference.
you. It was delightful meeting you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to say hi.
Absolutely. It was nice to meet you, and why, hello. And all right, we're going to keep on going down the list. And then we have an after show on Discord if anyone would like to join us in the Skeptic and Ranting Discord. It was lovely to meet you, Stephanie. And we are going to go to Wilberforce. We have been Skeptic and Ranting on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. What do you have going out on the interwebs, and what are your final thoughts?
Well, first off, I have to apologize for the horrible quality of my camera and my lighting, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing with any of this. So I'm trying to get a Discord server going. I don't know how most of it works, so it's a process. I just don't know anything about social media. So that being the case, kind of building off what Stephanie mentioned, as far as allies, yeah, you're infinitely more likely to find allies for various marginalized groups in a secular community. You just are, right? And it's something that's near and dear to my heart. I have a daughter who's gay. She was in school in Dubai for several years, and while Dubai is the most westernized of the countries in the Middle East, it was still pretty tense for her. And it's one of those things where nobody should have to live in fear of being just who they are, right? And it seems to be only religious doctrines that would force people into being ashamed or being, ostracized for just how they choose to live their own lives with no harm coming to anybody else, right? And that, to me, is the biggest reason that secular morality, secular-based society is just inherently better for the vast majority of the people in it. Because the fact is, as a secular person, yeah, I think religious people are kind of out of their head, but I think libertarians are out of their head, and I think vegetarians are out of their head, and that's fine. You can still do your thing, You want to be a vegetarian? Cool, more meat for me. It's fine. It's only in a religious context that someone might look at, say, a vegetarian and say, you're going against God, and therefore you must be punished. And that, in and of itself, is just, that's bad for human civilization, period. There's no way around it. It just is. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that.
Woo-hoo! Thank you so very much, Wilberforce. Lovely to have you on with us as well. And all right, we are going to get Clockwork Rex and Phil G, and then we are going to have the two co-hosts close the pilot ship. But thank you so very much. Keep on joining, Wilberforce. Lovely to have you on with us. And all right.
Oh, he can go first. Yeah.
Oh, you want him to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Hi.
All right. Well, he is indeed. Setting so much up, Phil G. We are skeptic in ranting. In fact, we were on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. Lovely having you on. What do you got going on the interwebs, and what are your final thoughts?
Okay. You usually find me on as co-host with the Afro Atheist. That used to be the Afro Humanist, the Afro Atheist. Also, I have a channel, the Caribbean Skeptic Secularist, the TCSS show. Sometimes we have what we're going to call the shit show. With a group of us. Also coming up soon, I will be doing a rant on something that happened in Jamaica in a Jamaican school with regards to Christianity, showing the dangers of indoctrination of children, one of the dangers, and secular humanism, atheist secular humanism is the best way to go. Everyone is catered to, and there's no particular pushing of religion, and usually it is more of what benefits society as a whole, and not one particular group or the pushing of one particular group's beliefs, dangerous beliefs on everyone else. So, yeah, secular humanism, atheism, secular humanism. Best way, not Islam. Definitely not. The dangers of Islam, along with Christianity, they're seeing in Iran, as I said before, the dangers of Islamic beliefs, how people, and even not only in Iran, but also Afghanistan, what is happening there right now, especially the dehumanization of women in these places. Yeah. Thanks very much, Amy, for having me on to share my thoughts. And it's good meeting you again.
Absolutely. It was lovely having you on. Please keep on coming on and sending so much ramen to as we close out our skeptic and ranting. That's right, sending so much love and hearts. We only have Clockwork Rex and then the two co-pilots. Clockwork Rex, we have been skeptic and ranting on what's best for society, Islam or atheism. Hope you had a fun time. What you got going on in the interwebs, and what are your final thoughts?
Well, like I said at the beginning, thanks for having me in. Thanks everybody in the chat that showed up. And I'm going to say something that'll probably be really controversial right now.
Oh my.
The Jewish people, the Christian people, and the Muslim people all worship the same God. It's all the same God. The Jewish people are still waiting for the Messiah to show up. The Christian people thought it was Jesus, and he was the Messiah. And the Islamic people think it's Muhammad. And all three of those, if you go to the fundamentalist core of what they believe, is bad for society. Secularism is the best system we have. It is. Because you can be whatever religion you want to be, and if you have secular laws, then you're protected. I mean, I know I opened a can of worms when I said that, but you know, it is what it is. And it's true. From everything I've researched, that is true. And for those people who say, well, where do you get your morals from if you're not religious? Well, you know, I got them from my great-grandparents, I got them from my grandparents, and I got them from my parents. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's a bad thing, depending on your parents or your family. Because some of my family were fucked up, I'm not going to lie. They were. But, what else was I going to say? I was going to say something else. I forgot. It's Saturday night. I've had a couple of beers. Okay. So I forgot the last thing I was going to say. But I just want everybody to have a good weekend and take care. And I'll be around. I have a channel. It's called Clockwork Rex. I stream sometimes. I stream about all kinds of different shit. So, and I have a Discord too. But we used to play Dungeons and Dragons on it. But everybody kind of fell away. I don't know. I'm kind of a mean dungeon master. You know, if you do something stupid, you're probably going to die in the game. So I'm just saying. But that's all I got.
Woohoo! Thank you so very much, Clockwork. And with that, we are handing it over to the co-pilot, James W. Sending love. We have been skeptic and ranting on what's best for society, Islam versus atheism. And what are your final thoughts?
Well, thanks everybody for coming to the after show. It was a good conversation. I haven't been here for most of it, but I have work obligations. You guys know how it is. But yeah, it was still fun to listen to everybody. The debate was good. Of course, Aaron Rock killed it, as we knew he would. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll be back in a couple days.
Oh yeah, everybody take care. Everybody. I don't care what you believe.
Woo-hoo!
Exactly.
Thank you so very much, James. And I've been trying to get, because you have to update each time for the supporters. I've been trying to struggle to get that ready, but it's not going to happen this time.
If I may.
Oh, fantastic. No. Who's talking?
Oh, sorry. It's me, Wilbur.
Wilbur, absolutely. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I only need a second. I just want to add, I agree. I don't care what you believe, just as long as you leave me out of it. That's pretty much it.
Woohoo!
Well, no, it's like the ants in Bug's Life standing up to the grasshoppers, and they said if we let one do it and get away with it, then maybe they'll all do it. So they have to force us all to play along with their game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, or four legs good in animal form.
Right. Some animals are just more equal than others. Because God says so.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You're on mute, Amy?
I have to do that at least once a stream too. All right, I think
You almost made it without doing it.
I know, I was
Almost
this
made
close. I got the new thing uploaded, new ending uploaded, but it's going to have to be our music again. Hold on. Sending so much love, and now it's not showing up for some reason.
So for all y'all, I put my links in the private chat. So whatever, you can find me one way or another.
But they're in private chat?
Yep.
Do you want those public?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
All right.
I'm only slightly anonymous, but not really.
Gosh darn it. I'm trying so hard to try and get this up in time. That's what he or she said.
Stephanie, you put a thing in the private chat as far as Discord, and I have no idea how to find it.
Well, it's
So I don't know.
It's my Discord handle. If you look for that, Sidra at Sidra hashtag, what is it, 3275? You should be able to find friends and in Discord.
Okay.
I think maybe you can do it that way. I don't know. There's too many. I'm anti-social network. I'm anti-social, basically.
You and me both, and that's social networks make that tough.
No, they would just make it, it different.
Sure.
Everything's different.
That's a way to put it.
Fuck us, Newman.
I know it's not fair. Like everything I'm trying, it is like blocking me from doing. I want so badly for it not to do, and now it's not.
All your base art belong to us.
Do anything when I get something in here. All right, it's. I'm just going to share screen, and we're just going to do it that way because it's not going to do it. Do exactly. Hold on one second. This to full screen. Yes. All right.
Have you ever been diagnosed with ADD?
Have you ever been diagnosed? Exactly. We're just gonna do this. Do. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you all had a fun time on this episode of Skeptic and Ranting. What's best for society? Islam versus atheism, where tonight we put Muhammad in the hot seat for Aaron Ra and Kenny's modern day debate inspired after party. I do hope you all had a good time, and I want to thank my co-host James W. along with our guests.
Fuck us.
Along with our guests. Oh my. Had all written down.
F-U-C-U-S. What does that spell?
With Soldier, Wilberforce, Stephanie, Richard, Phil G, Pat, and Clockwork Rex. Woohoo! As well as all the lovely people in chat, our mods who make this stream so great. And of course, viewers like you. If you enjoyed the stream, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. Or hey, why not leave a comment once the video is done? You could also leave a super thanks, and we'll read it back as thanks on the next episode. After the show, the Skeptic Ranting Discord server will be open, the link of which is in the description below, along with all of our fantastic channel members, and as well as our Patreon, so you can see here and become a Patreon by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I am Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night, everyone. Shoop doopa doopa, a shoopa doopa woopa.
Bye.
Do 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 do. Sending love, all Patreon and our supporters: Oz and Grumpy, Diana Smith, Scott, Ian Davenport. Oh yeah, that's right. Sending love, sending so much love. Pat and Dale and Dave Garridos, Mark and Farron, Rachel, Martin, Roger, James. Oh yeah. Shoopin' and a whoopin', Senator Cato and Jena, Commander Cyborg, Abcdeig, Uncle Beck, and newly Speed of Sound, Chris Disciple. We love you all. The whole panel does. We hope that you all have a fantastic night.